Hi guys, today's reading is all about how to expertly navigate a situation that you're in that might be causing some difficulty. So I have three piles for you to choose from here. So I'm just going to give you some time, take a look at them, and when you decide which one you're drawn to, just jump to the right timestamp and there's your reading. Okay, so if you chose this Eight of Cups card here, then this will be your reading. So, the first thing that I notice since the question is how can you expertly navigate a situation that you're struggling with is that the Eight of Cups represents your energy. So, it feels like you're considering walking away entirely from this situation, although that might not necessarily be the solution. It might be that you need to leave aspects of the situation or your own investments or ideas behind. It might not be getting up and leaving the situation entirely, but just sort of dropping certain beliefs and certain hopes or feelings about the situation. But we'll get into it, we'll see. But there's definitely either you feel like you want to leave things behind or that's going to be the advice. But we'll get more cards and figure out exactly how you're supposed to navigate. But it does feel like there's an element of moving on from something that you once put some work or effort or emotional investment into. But we'll find out more. So straight away I have some ideas about these cards here. Usually I would put a card under each of these to clarify, but I just want to say this part first and then I will then put a card underneath to clarify as usual, like I usually would. So the first thing that I'm seeing looking at just this combination here is you have a lot of hidden strength, as shown by the strength card with the moon sat underneath it. I think this is talking about this decision to leave some things behind, change paths, walk away, drop certain ideas will be tough, but I think this is telling you that you're more than capable. You have a very strong spirit that might not always be apparent or that you might not even be aware of because it's not utilized very much, it's hidden, but it's telling me that underneath your exterior, underneath what you think you are, a super strong person who has the courage necessary to do this, okay? Next we have Wheel of Fortune. I think this is the one I want to get more information about because I think ultimately this is showing the situation changing for the better, but we need to know why that is. Is it just a natural turn of events? You just have to stick it out for a little bit and naturally these things will fall away, or does it require some action? That will have to clear up. Then after that, though, we have the Eight of Swords, and I think this is showing me that the reason why this situation is so difficult for you to navigate is there's a sense of feeling trapped and feeling backed into a corner, and like there's not much that can be done about it. And the longer that you stay in this position, the more and more like overwhelming thoughts that build up, the more trapped, the more cornered, the more isolated you feel, and like you don't have any other choice or any other option. Because usually in the Eight of Swords, the person is not stood on the edge of a cliff. But if you look at this one, she's literally has the sword so she can't go this way and is stood on the edge of the cliff. So it feels like, being forced into a corner where you don't feel like there's a good option, there's a good outcome. Either way, it's going to be difficult. But I think the cards are saying it's not that it's not true, but the card that you get straight after it, if I can pick it up, that is the Four of Swords. So whilst in the Eight of Swords, the swords which are representative of thoughts are being used to block this person in and make them feel like they can't navigate anywhere. In this card here, we're just laying them down and taking some time to just relax. This gives me the idea of having that kind of energy where you're like, let me just clear out my mind and put all my thoughts aside temporarily. Let me just breathe so I can actually figure out a way forward. It gives me that kind of energy that when you're stuck here with too many thoughts, too many ideas around you, it becomes a form of entrapment. It doesn't become useful anymore. It becomes a way of keeping you stuck. Whereas here, if you can get to this place where you can just lay those thoughts down for a while, then a way out might become clear. Like I said, we need a second row anyway for more information, but that's the first kind of idea that I'm having. So let's see if there's any more detail we can add on. Yeah, it's already become a lot clearer. I think I can tie everything together nicely now. Let's just get the final card for this part and see. Okay, so we've gotten more detail and it's also allowed me to see the overall message and how to navigate and what this is all about, okay? So clarifying strength of the moon card, we have the Ten of Cups. This tells me that maybe, I mean, there's a few different ways of reading this situation, so you'll have to take whichever one you think fits with you. The fact that this Ten of Cups is showing like a very happy and supportive family unit, maybe for some people it's that you find strength and draw strength from your family, or maybe a particular individual who makes you feel this way. Maybe you have to keep this kind of happy, supportive energy in mind when going through this Eight of Cups kind of, I don't want to say loss, but difficult time of leaving certain things behind and moving ahead anyway. Maybe it's saying that you draw strength from that. Maybe in another case, that's when it's conscious, that's when you realise that you do have like a person or a network or someone to draw strength from. In other cases, I feel like maybe you feel totally alone in this and it's telling you as advice to, find, or maybe it appears that you're alone, but you're not in fact alone. Either find people who can provide this kind of comfort and support for you to make this small bit of turbulence easier, or you already have that and you're unaware of it. Either way, there's something about maybe you're unaware of it because it's hidden with the moon, so maybe there is people who would help or would make things more comfortable or easy. You just are kind of blind to that idea and feel like you just have to be the person who faces everything alone, just strong, when I don't think that's necessarily the case because of this Ten of Cups showing up underneath the Strength card. Um, in terms of things, I was asking whether I think things are going to just turn themselves around, if you're going to have to put some actual actions in place. It doesn't look like you have to take any drastic action. I think that this is talking about just sitting down and kind of wearing out the storm, just stay strong, stay in place. Certain things are going to fall away and you're going to also have to drop these things, but I think these cups are representing more thoughts and ideas as opposed to situations, and I'll tell you why. This is talking about how, following this bad period here, things will shift and turn around into a much brighter, happier, healthier place. And you have the Ten of Swords, which tells me that, this is a difficult and painful time, but always in the Ten of Swords you have the end of something painful, okay? The final, it's like the final chapter. It can't hurt you anymore. It did hurt, obviously, with this, but it always shows the sunrise in the background, like that's the end of that. It was very difficult and it caused a lot of pain, but there's no more that can be done. We've come to the end of line on, those painful ideas, thoughts, situations, they're done, okay? So I think it's saying that after this very difficult period, which is highlighted twice, there will be a nice and a lot more cheerful and pleasant period. You just have to stick this part out and drop some beliefs that you have for sure. Next, you have the Eight of Swords. I told you that was feeling stuck, feeling trapped, feeling like there's no good solution. And with this, you have the Star card, which again kind of goes along with this Wheel of Fortune. Makes me feel like you should have hope. No matter how difficult that is, have hope. Things are going to change, as we've seen here with the Wheel of Fortune. Just hang on and just keep remaining hopeful despite how dire the situation might look right now. Maybe these cups are the belief that things can never change. Maybe that's what needs to be dropped. This belief that my life is always going to be this way. I'm always going to feel stuck. I don't have any way out. There's no option, so therefore there's no point, even feeling remotely optimistic. But I'm seeing a few times repeated that this very, very dark period is coming to an end and is not supposed to stick around. So there's definitely that of remaining hopeful. And then finally, this is a small piece of advice. As we were talking about before with the Four of Swords, don't allow the thoughts that are very destructive and keep you caged in to build up too much. Put them down from time to time and just calm down, settle. And I think this is to allow you to just continue doing your best in your day-to-day activities. It's, there's no point navigating your life feeling tense, feeling stuck, feeling like I have nowhere to go, feeling very pent up and contained, when if you just drop those thoughts for a while, you can be like the Knight of Pentacles, just get on with your work day to day. And as you do this, as you just do what you can do, what's in your control, these thoughts about things never changing, things never looking better are going to drop away, and then you'll be on the new path, which you can see here the sun is coming up right there, so that also indicates that more pleasant times are ahead. We have the sun coming out here too, and we also have the Wheel of Fortune with the seasons changing. So I think how to navigate this difficult situation is tap into your inner strength for sure. Maybe have the help and support of other people to vent to, people to talk to when you don't feel very strong at that time. Remain hopeful and put those very, very negative thoughts and panic to rest for a bit and just keep living day to day. And in time, these bad situation is going to fall away and something new is coming. So it feels like you don't have to take a great deal of action. It feels like just an inevitable process that you just have to sit through and bear with for now, and just continue doing your best and giving yourself a little break from time to time. So I don't think we need to get any more advice. I think the cards were quite clear there in what they were saying. So yeah, if this helped in any way, please like the video. If you want to tell me what the situation is or need any more help or just want to talk, then leave a comment, and finally don't forget to subscribe for more readings. Good luck! Okay, if you chose this Hierophant card, then this will be your reading, so let's see how you can navigate this situation expertly and solve this difficulty. So let's see. Usually I would try and get something from this card, but because it's the Hierophant and there's so many options that are vastly different from each other of what this could represent, then I just want to wait and do the whole thing first. So let's see. I have an idea here coming through quite strongly, but I just want to wait and confirm that it's correct before I tell you what it is, so hold on. Is everything going everywhere? I think I'm going to read this top row as it is, since I didn't really delve into what the Hierophant could represent at the start of the reading. We might pull another line depending, but for now there's a clear message coming through. When I'm asking how you should expertly navigate this difficult situation, the massive sense that I get is two things: with intelligence, but also with love. What do I mean, and why am I saying that? Well, first of all, I think this Hierophant is supposed to represent you in this case. And this Hierophant is kind of special because usually in the Hierophant card, shows a religious authority with a book in their hand, whereas this one is somebody who is outside in nature and is a little bit more of an unconventional Hierophant, shall we say. So I think this is supposed to be you. And the reason that you're being represented by the Hierophant is because you have a lot of just like, it's not just wisdom, it's you can see things from a higher perspective. You have, the blessing of being able to look at things in a way where you can see the best for everyone, the blessed in certain situations, not always looking at things on the surface, but being able to tap into and see things from a much more higher and knowledgeable in spiritual matters perspective. That's what I think is representing you here. So I think it's telling you that you do have this background of being a person who, if there is difficulty, doesn't just react straight from emotion, but tries to remember lessons learned and things like that. Again, that's shown with the Queen of Swords being a very wise person and somebody who is intelligent and doesn't just use emotion to solve things. So that is obvious. The other thing that's coming out quite strongly is obviously the Ace of Cups, and that made me think of, like an influx of love or care is needed in this situation, because it looks like I don't know if this is you or other people, or maybe you're involved with other people and it's both things. There's like a shadow side, a dark side coming through, and that doesn't mean that these people are bad or that you're necessarily bad. It means that decisions are being made from the devil kind of energy, from whatever feels good, even though it's not necessarily right. For instance, if this was, some kind of dispute or argument, acting from this kind of energy would be snapping back at somebody who said something that hurt you because it feels good in that moment, that it helps your ego to be like, well, if you say one bad thing to me, I'm just going to come straight back for you, like, strongly. But then afterwards, sometimes you're like, was that the best move? Maybe that person was acting out because they actually have something underlying going on, and maybe being acting from just my kind of ego and my impulse was not a good idea in this case because it's made the situation worse. Again, I'm still seeing the message of acting in this situation with compassion and love, because we have the Eight of Wands that is telling you that you need to take some kind of action immediately, a strong action, a bold move, definitely with the Eight of Wands, but underneath it was the Six of Cups. And if you look, this person is nurturing the younger figure. So I think, oh, and also as well, you have the Queen of Cups, who is somebody who is very compassionate and very empathetic and like a good person to talk to when you're going through something, because they understand and they can empathize with a lot of situations and a lot of people because it's their natural talent. So overall, if you put this together, it's showing you as somebody who kind of needs to rise above the situation. I get the sense that this could be like an argument style thing or a dispute between a number of people, and you kind of having to be, I wouldn't say the mediator because it's the Queen of Cups, but actually having to inject, the love back into the situation. Say this was like an argument with a partner. It's like it might be very tempting to just argue with each other's like devil side, shadow side, but you, because you're presented as being wise and having this kind of knowledge and being able to step outside of your own kind of shadow and devil energy into more aligned and energy that comes from a better place, I think you're the one who has to inject the love into this situation again. And that doesn't mean that this person was correct and that you're letting them get away with it and it was right how they acted. It is showing up as like devil energy. It is wrong, whatever happened, but I think it's to stop this cycle of just continuously both acting out of this. One person, in this case you, because you have the gift to do so, needs to, present this Ace of Cups, present like a loving kind of thing. Maybe this person is acting out because they don't feel safe, so they need, to be brought back to feeling safe and loved, and maybe they feel really vulnerable, which is why they act like this. And in that case, if somebody feels vulnerable and feels attacked, then the best way to get through to them isn't to come back and fight them with more of this, because they're just going to be even more defensive, even more extreme. Sometimes it's better to, make sure they feel valued, safe, taken care of, and feel loved so that they can open up and try and fix these things, is ultimately what I'm seeing. I think maybe I should draw some more cards to try and find out what happened so I can give like more advice, because the advice that's there is very clear about the whole love aspect, but it's hard for me to really be specific when I don't know what happened. But all I know is you're supposed to be, that annoying phrase of being the bigger person for sure. So let's see. So why do you need to do this? What's happened? mean, I do get the sense that I'm correct that it's a battle of egos. Either this is representative of both people and represents the energy that you're both in, as in being very stubborn and very, this is where I stand on this, with the King of Wands, and even more stubbornness and aggressiveness with the Knight of Swords on top. So it could be that both of you are mixed into this kind of energy, or it could be that one person is being like the Knight of Swords, unwilling to listen, charging forward with their own ideas, like this is how we're going to do things, and someone else is being stubborn in the King of Wands sense of, well, I'm sitting right here and doing things this way. So these kind of energies clashing is causing this potentially. What else? Because I think the other thing here is these two energies mixed together are destructive. So in order to break this destructive cycle, there needs to be some gentleness coming through, because these figures are definitely not gentle in that sense and compassionate or loving. They're very, I mean, they have their good points, but they can be a bit ruthless and a bit set in their ways. So I guess it's talking about that, having to be more flexible and break out of that. Oh dear. I think this, I'm not going to read anymore from Reverse Shuffle anymore. I think that was the hint that I have everything I need to know. I think this Death card is important though, because it's talking about, okay, from this energy, nothing ever can grow, okay? Everything is just going to be stuck in this kind of decaying death cycle, not very positive, not very healthy. There's no room to grow if one or both people are behaving in this kind of manner. There's no nurturing energy. The relationship will never shift from this because they're just not backing down. So somebody needs to get back to nurturing so that things can repair, things can grow, things can come back to life. Because if you just have this old ground as it is, then nothing can be nurtured. If it's too harsh of an environment, then the plant can't grow. So I think this is talking about, if you in this case, as it's being repeated to me, I wouldn't say back down, but get out of this energy and come back to yourself that knows better, that knows that dealing with fire with a sword is not the best way of going, and trying to calm things down and cool off and be very patient and loving and nurturing. I think it's saying it's not going to stay like this forever. You'll be able to actually grow something really healthy and, nourishing if somebody can actually put aside the ego and allow softness and the nurturing side to come through to change the way things are. But I'm not gonna lie, right now, if you're stuck in this situation, it does look bad, You're like, well, this is gone, this went wrong, this died. It's a kind of dark place to be in, but you can clearly see on this death card that things can change around, and despite the ground looking not great at the moment, if this water just came through and nourished the earth a bit, then this plant would grow. So that's my advice that I see for you. I know it's easier said than done, especially especially if one of these is kind of your natural way of being, but it looks like to improve things, then an offering, a peace offering needs to happen. And that's not, as I said, backing down or excusing the other person's behaviour. It's just recognising that they did something that was wrong, and maybe in time you'll be able to talk to them about it, but right now it's just going to be more fighting and more chaos. Once you've got them out of this devil kind of energy, then you can empathise and talk with them more and explain why it's unacceptable. But trying to come at someone when they're being like this and being very ruthless and aggressive, fighting it with more fire, and more stubbornness is really not the way to go in this situation. But things will change if this advice is followed, and if you can use your strength and your wisdom, because that's why I'm saying it's not like it's easy. It's only because you're very wise and learned and very compassionate and very spiritual that you're able to do those things. So I'm not trying to say it's an easy task, I'm just saying that you're capable of doing it. So that's all I see for now. Please like the video if this helped in any way. Leave a comment if you have anything to say or you want to let me know how this applies or any other questions, and subscribe for more readings soon. Thank you, bye. Okay, so if you chose this Temperance card here, this is going to be your reading about how to navigate a difficult situation. I mean, Temperance gives me a lot of information straight away, as in, this is going to take blending and merging two things together, figuring out the correct mixture, not being too far on this side, not being too far on that side, not necessarily being 50-50 either, but figuring out what mix there is going ahead, you know, being not polarized, I guess is the best way, and trying to navigate and figure out the best combination of things to solve the problem. So I'm going to get more on it, but that's clear that that's going to be the theme of the reading, but we'll see the specifics of how that applies. So let's go. Oh, these are coming out fast. It's funny, I got an idea when I first saw this world card about this could be a situation where something is drawing to a close. You know, it's time for a new season, a new chapter, and maybe that's what you're finding really difficult. An example I have, but it doesn't have to be this, it's just an example that came to me while I was looking at it, is, you know, that awkward period where you're about to leave university or leave studies and you're like, what am I going to do next? Because, you know, it's coming to an end. Like, you can't continue in that space because you've learned all you need to learn, you've finished, but it still feels kind of, I don't know what to do now. Even though it's like a big chapter coming to an end, sometimes that can be difficult to navigate because you have no idea how to do what's ahead. And I feel like that's the sense I'm getting here. The reason I was pointing out that that's what I was seeing when I saw the world card is then this death card came out. So I was like, yeah, there's definitely a change in situation. Definitely one part of your life is coming to a close and the next part is about to start. And this is that awkward time where decisions have to be made. What do you want to do? But it's like not having enough information about it. Not, and maybe even being sad because, you know, the death card is here. If it was just the world, I'd be like, oh, you know, it's just the closing of one chapter, opening of the next, completion in one area to move on to something else. But the fact that death is here tells me that maybe there's some sadness around that, you know, grieving this life or this situation that has to draw to a close now. So I can understand that. But let's get more information by getting more cards on the bottom. Oh, and one other thing, I was saying that being unsure of what to do next, that also came to me when I saw the Two of Swords as well. I got that kind of vibe here of, oh, maybe we're moving on to something and who knows how to navigate next. And then the Two of Swords came out, which shows me that, yeah, this is about having difficulty in how to navigate things or what to choose going forwards, or being at a crossroads where you have to make a call one way or the other because the situation that you're currently in is ended and there's nothing else that can be done there. So it's like you have to go one way or another, or spoiler alert, a third way, who knows. So let's get more cards. Oh, it's a painful ending though with the Ten of Swords. So in this case, my example wouldn't apply because this is something that hurts because it's ending. Yeah, for sure, with the Ten of Swords. But I want to say though, even though this ending is very painful with the Ace of Swords and the Death card up here, it feels necessary. So say this was like a sudden, I don't know, dismissal from a job, end to a relationship, whatever it is, even though it does seem painful, it was not just inevitable, but meant to be, because that chapter of your life is done. You have to go somewhere else now. Because I think sometimes when something really hurts, we're like, oh, that shouldn't have happened to me. That's unfair. So for just in case anybody is struggling with that idea of, oh, if I had done things differently, would I have kept this job? Would I have kept that relationship? I don't think so because the World card is here. So that's one worry to take out. Oh, okay. Okay. I can't wait to read these, but I just want to get the last two cards. But this is very interesting picture that's being painted. It's so funny because I was having a certain idea of how to read this death card as I was waiting for a card to clarify here, and then it straight away got confirmed, and that's what I love about doing this. So, the situation now is quite clear. Again, the specifics will be different, but the overall message that's communicated is clear. It feels like as this situation, as I've previously mentioned, is ending, for good, done, it feels like you are having some kind of nudge of where to go next with the Knight of Cups coming through, passing on like an opportunity. But this feeling that's coming through, this idea, it's like, I feel like it's kind of outlandish for you. And the reason I say that is we have the High Priestess as well. It's like intuitively you have an idea of what you want to do next, okay? And this Two of Swords shows me that you're looking at option A, option B, and completely ignoring the C here, which usually represents like subconscious or ideas that are coming to you from the more mysterious, intuitive place, like the High Priestess, is being ignored in favour of, well, either this logical way or that logical way. But there is an idea here for sure that's come through from the depths of who you are with this Knight of Cups. You know, he's holding a cup that holds the element of water, and this element of water is very important up here, and it's appearing again here with the King of Cups. What I'm trying to get at is it feels like now that this situation is ended, you're like, oh, should I, for example, get a job with company A, company B, when the answer is neither, because you don't really want that one and you don't really want that one. Your soul or something internal to you with the High Priestess is trying to point you in a different direction. It's trying to point you in a way that you've not even considered. It's like you might feel it, but then you just brush it off like, no, 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 I can't do that. I have to choose this one or this one. And that's why this figure is stuck here making absolutely no decision. The reason why I think that this is a very strong departure from what you previously did or have previously done before is because of this death card. I told you as I was thinking about the interpretation that I was going to go with for this card, the Eight of Cups came and confirmed exactly what I was thinking. When I was looking at this death card, I was thinking, oh, it's interesting because it shows, one life was lost here, that of a deer, I guess, or some kind of animal with horns. I'm going to guess a deer. And from that, there is now a plant growing. So one style of life, one form of life, sorry, was left behind. And now there is a new one growing, but not exactly the same thing. It's like, it's not another animal that's emerged from that spot. It's now plant life that's coming out of here. So how that would apply is, one area of your life is drawn to a close, but you're not supposed to replicate the exact same thing. Say this was a job, it's like you're not supposed to let this office job come to a close and then just get another job doing the exact same thing. It's supposed to be something new starts out of it, but something new that is unlike what went down previously. The reason the Eight of Cups backs that up is the Eight of Cups talks about walking away and starting anew. But this walking away is leaving behind these cups here that are things that you've previously put a lot of value into, things that you previously in the past would have prioritized or said were really important. It's like a complete change of that. I'm recognizing that those don't bring fulfillment and happiness anymore. So you have no other choice but to drop them there and leave them behind. And therefore, if you realize that one situation or one way of doing things didn't bring you happiness, then the natural conclusion from that is you're going to have to go and find a different thing that brings that fulfillment and joy that this maybe once did. And again, I think it's interesting that they're leaving all these cups behind, and we have here the Knight of Cups, giving out a new cup. So it's like you're leaving all of these ones that you might have collected for some time, and this might have been the only way you've ever known, but this new idea or this new opportunity, new thought is just too tempting. But it's not tempting in a bad way, because we have the King of Cups here underneath the High Priestess, and sometimes when you get intuitive ideas you can be like, oh, maybe I'm just being a bit impulsive, maybe I'm just being a bit crazy today, maybe I'm just being unrealistic. But the fact we have the King of Cups underneath it tells me that it's a very well balanced idea. Especially also you have the Temperance card, which I do think is some advice, but I also will read it in this case because it's giving me the same idea that is shown here, of that underneath it all you are quite a well balanced person, in that the King of Cups isn't someone who is just, he is led by and very good at dealing in the realm of emotion and intuitive thought, but he's still a king at the end of the day. He is quite secure and reliable and stable. So the fact that you have the High Priestess with that underneath tells me that these intuitive ideas that you're getting, they are good, they are right, they're not just like totally crazy, they're not out of the realms of possibility, but for whatever reason it is, you are unwilling to explore the possibility of getting involved in that kind of plan or idea that you've had, and you just want to choose between the two logical options right now. You do have some advice here with the Hermit. I think this is telling you to do some real soul searching, to sit, to sit in this energy for a little bit and figure out who you are, what you want, and how you can do things going forwards, but not in a logical manner. The Hermit is not going to sit there and use logic to make this decision. They're going to do some real looking at their own depths, spending some time alone, taking out other people's influence, you know, since usually hermits are completely closed off from the rest of the world. So take out what the rest of the world thinks, what other people think, what society thinks, and look at you as a person. That's the advice you're being given to navigate this situation. But I think that I can't forget that the Temperance was here overall. I think that the Temperance is also the total opposite of Two of Swords energy. So I think that it's saying, whilst I'm telling you to soul search and, you know, go and be more internal and think about things without distractions of the outside world or other people's opinions or society's opinions, I don't think you should be so rigid about it. Like, for example, I'm gonna quit everything and move to a cabin in the middle of nowhere because I've discovered that I don't like noise and I don't like the rush, and I'm gonna, you know, get rid of my phone and never speak to anybody again. Like, that's too extreme because you have the Temperance here, which is about balance. So these conclusions that you come to in hermit mode, they are good, but remember to apply them in a balanced way. So in that example, if you decide that, you know, the noise of modern life is a bit much, it would be kind of a bit too much in the beginning to just leave everything you know behind and move to the middle of nowhere and get rid of your phone so nobody can contact you. But one thing that you could do to honor that energy is, for example, only use your phone between certain hours of the day, you know, or make a plan to go on a trip every now and again to somewhere peaceful, or just take some time out of your day to just be alone with yourself going forwards. Do you see what I mean? It's like these things are important to you, but you can't, you're encouraged not to fully, you know, just pick up one thing over the other. Go back and forth, see how you feel when you implement certain things that your soul wants to do into your daily life. And then if you feel like it's too risky, I don't feel safe anymore, then you add in more stable elements. If you feel like it's still not fulfilling enough, then you add in more of these, you know, intuitive from the heart elements. And I think it's just about trying to achieve that balance, because I feel like in the past that probably wasn't the way you did things, because this energy does feel a little bit, as I said, scary, and like you'll have to leave behind old ways of doing things. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I see for you, apart from, you know, going back and looking at who you are and sitting and spending some time alone so that you can properly decide how to go ahead without just limiting yourself to these two choices. I think that's everything. Yeah, I don't think I have any more to offer today. So if this helped at all, please like the video. Leave me a comment if you want to have some extra help or talk about it or just share your experience. And don't forget to subscribe for more. Bye.